Hey, happy Tuesday. I am coming to you today to talk about simplifying your summer. Now, it is this weird paradox. You know, I love a good paradox. I am all about both and. I have a tattoo on my arm of an ampersand because I am all about both and. One of my deep core values is like creating all the things, right? I do believe you can have a successful business and a successful home life, right? You can have a physically fit body, right? And a full fulfilling schedule. It doesn't have to be one or the other. I am very passionate about living my life by that because I didn't do that for so long, right? It was okay, in order to have a successful life, something else had to compromise. And so I want to talk to you about how I live my life. I today's magic number is three. We're going to talk about the big three a lot. And I want to bring it back to this doing less so that you can do more. It is this weird paradox that when you actually focus and when you actually do less, right? When you actually really hone in on the what I call in my program the best yes, then it actually gives you the freedom to be able to do more, right? You can travel more, you can be with your family more, you can have more hobbies, you can have friends, right? So many times we just let more, right? Whether it and I'm thinking in work because that's what a lot of us are thinking about, right? But in any area of your life, when we with work, let's say, right? Like we let so much extra stuff in. It's like, okay, how can I? Sometimes I think we think it's like, how can I do this and that? That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about, both and, right? Like, how can I squeeze in all the little emails and all the little tasks while I am watching TV, while I am with my family, while I am, no, 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 no. That is the problem. That is not what I mean when I say both and. That's actually the opposite. It is this, I want to put it on its head today. Today is all about doing less so that you can do more. Restraint actually brings freedom. Discipline actually brings abundance, right? Like it's this weird thing, but I want to break it down today. Okay. So, if you're joining me live, will you say hello? And if you are joining in the future, hashtag replay. I just wanted to give you a quick little introduction on what we're talking about today. And I'd love to hear about your weekend. How was your Memorial Day weekend? I feel like it's right that first launch to summer. Right after this, I have one coaching call, and then I am off to Great Wolf Lodge with my kiddos. They filled their marble jar, and so we're taking them to Chicago. We are going to stay the night at Great Wolf Lodge and have fun. I share that because I do. I want to hear what plans you have this summer. I'd love to hear that. But also, that's kind of my whole point, right? It's this both and. I am having a super laser focused morning so that I can have the next 24 plus hours fully focused on my kids, fully focused and being present with my family. And so I said, today the magic number is going to be three. Okay. I call it the big three. If you have ever done any time management seminars with me, if you have ever done any goal setting things with me, I don't know what it is, but it's all about the magic number three. And so I'm just going to give you a quick little preview. I want today to be super practical and helpful for you. And then, of course, like if you want to, like hash this out, all summer I'm offering through free coaching calls. So I can absolutely hash this out with you. Hop on a 20, 30-minute call and I will be all about you and simplifying your summer, your big three, your values, all of that. Okay. So here's where it starts from here. Here's the process of simplifying your summer. Let's just use summer, right? The next 3 months or so as an example. But I truly live my life by this in 12-week increments. Of course, I might have like my eye on some bigger goals or some bigger visions, but I get laser focused on the next 12 weeks. If you have not read the book 12 Week Year, I I really advocate. I love that book. I recommend that book. There was so many ways about annualizing like goals that just didn't work with my brain. And this book actually was like, this is how my brain has always worked. It kind of put confirmation to the system that my brain already works at. So 12-week year. Basically, I'm going to ask you a couple questions. I want you to jot them down. I want you to think on them. And of course, if you need some coaching on it or if you want some like help with someone that has lived by this for years, reach out and we can hop on a call and hash it out together. So, over the next 12 weeks, 3 months ish, what does success look like? Now, today's magic number is 3. So, I only want you to pick like 3 areas or 3 things, right? Because that is a that's a big problem that people sometimes throw into and they call it both and. No, no, no. It is not throwing everything in with the kitchen sink, right? Within the 12, well, in the next 12 weeks, I want to lose so much weight. I want to go on so many dates. I want to be here in my business. I want to have this planned out with my kids. Like I want to financially be here. No, 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 no. That the restraint, the choosing the 3 most important things in this season, it doesn't mean forever, but in this season, what is top priority? That right there, that restraint, that required focus is what most entrepreneurs miss and most women miss, right? We want to do all the things. And listen, I'm not telling you that you can't do all the things. I'm just saying you need to prioritize what is most important right now. What is going to be your like what is the top 20% in your life like that's going to give you the best like the 80% of your results. If your health is hurting right now, it probably needs to go right like top 20%. If you're in a season of business growth right now, it might get to be top priority. If you just came off of a high like business season, then maybe family gets to be like top priority. And by the way, again, it does not mean, okay, if I'm not prioritizing my health right now, that doesn't mean you still don't maintain it, right? I'm just saying, what are you really going to focus on making progress on and really focus on putting your efforts and your intentionality into, okay? So I want you to pick 3 and only 3 things. If that, like it could be 1 to 3 things, because the power is in the focus. The power is in saying no to everything else. And that's also why most people don't do this, because it's really hard for them to say no. But when you say no, or when you say yes to your best yes, then that means you're saying no to some of your other things that can be really good things. And that right there, that discipline, that restraint, that is the hardest part, I would say. That is where most people either fall into the spiral of burnout, the spiral of striving, the spiral of trying to get all the things in, trying to shove all the things, trying to do both and I'm putting that in quotes, instead of getting focused, right? And really saying no so that you can say yes. So, what are the top 3 things? Mine right now, I'm working towards a century ride, right? Like a 100-mile bike ride. So that is one of my top 3. I want to make 150 business connections this summer. So this is like the summer of connections in my business, right? And then, oh shoot, what is my third one? Oh, and then really leaning into parenting and really leaning into my family relationships, really being present, detaching from work. So those are like my top 3 focuses. And again, I have them like written more specific, but those give me kind of a general area. Okay. Now, from there, so that's what I always have people start with is there, what is 12 weeks from now? 3 and only 3 things where we are going to really put our focus into that. Now, from there, on a weekly basis, so we just did it on the kind of like a quarterly basis. Now, what I want you to do is think on a weekly basis, what is one step that will move the needle forward in one of those 3 areas? Okay. This is the tricky part because sometimes, right? And again, it's 3 things. So here's one way that it looks like in my life. I meet with, so for my business, I meet with an accountability partner. She's like my biz bestie. She's in the group. Big shout out to Jeanette. It's like one of the things that's totally giving me life right now. And so I tell her, right, okay, these are my 12-week goals. And again, they have to be, right, like three and only three. And then every week I say, these are the top three things that are going to get me towards that goal. And I have accountability with her. She tells me, right, one of the biggest things is so that because both of us can tend to do all the things, it's like, no, 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 no. How does that funnel into one of the big three? Do you see how this works? I don't know about you, if you've ever French braided, right? Like you start with a small piece of hair, right? And then you pull some in. Everything you pull in, everything you do has to filter in to one of those three things, okay? And here's the beauty too, on a weekly basis, right? When I say, okay, these are the three things, and then we meet next week, and she'll say, how did you do on that? How did you do on that? How did you do on that? Right? It's amazing because I can feel like I had a not great week. But because I stayed focused on those three things, it's like, you know what? Actually, the things that mattered the most, the things that I care about the most got done. I actually moved the needle towards the things I cared about the most. And that intentionality and that focus is what makes the difference. Because even if I didn't get anything else done, I focused on the things that moved the needle towards the things that I said that I wanted, right? And so that's the powerful thing. There's not only three things I do in a week, right? But out of all the things that I get done, if I ever have to say no or if I'm ever running low on time, I prioritize those most important fit things. Do you see how simplifying, focusing, getting intentional, showing that discipline and that restraint actually that's the power right there. It's hard, right? But that is the power. So, we go from the 12-week year. Excuse me. We go from the 12-week goals or the 12-week aims, and then I bust them up. Okay, what three things can funnel in and move the needle the most on my top goal, right? Or those top 12-week goals. And then I even do this on a daily basis. So every night I have the habit of I put all my wins in. And some people only do like top three wins. I put all the wins. Like I am a big wins person. If you don't do like if you don't take anything else from this chat today, take this away. At the end of every night, write down all your wins. And listen, the smallest wins, the biggest wins, I put them all in. And that is so powerful because so many times, especially as ambitious, driven, goal oriented, high achieving people, we can be so focused, right, on where we want to go that we forget how far we've come. And so, even the baby things, I am celebrating like crazy. So, like yesterday, we took our kids to a cookout and we were there for quite a while. And I was celebrating, like one of my wins was that I was patient. Well, let's be honest. I was patient towards the kids. I did vent a little bit with my friends, but I was patient. I showed up patient to my kids. I put that down, right? Like when everyone was rushing around because we were late, I showed patience to my husband. I showed patience to my kids. I did not snap. I moved slowly. I put that in. That's definitely a win, right? So that was a little sidebar. But I also do this magic three, right? The big three at the end of every day. So I then think, okay, if these are my weekly big three things by the end of the week, if these are the things that get to happen in order to move the needle forward, they are my top 20% priorities that get the remaining 80% of my results, my most results from these things, right? Then I do that on a daily basis. So I'm like, okay, what are the three things that I get to prioritize tomorrow that again funnel in towards my weekly? And those weekly ones are funneling in towards my 12-week year, right? And so I'm getting really intentional each evening, right? Right before I go to bed about, okay, what are the three things that if nothing, I ask myself this all the time, if nothing else happened, these three things get to happen. And guess what? As life happens, as time starts running short, as appointments go over or things don't go to plan or, things take longer than I thought they would, I'm constantly going back to my journal and I'm saying, okay, what were the three things for today? And that's what gets that's where I get to, okay, it gets to interrupt. It gets to take priority. Now, I will be fully honest with you and fully transparent and say that I've cheated a little bit on my own system. I have broadened my focus a little bit because at the end of each day, I do three on the professional side and then 3 on the personal side. So even though I have like 3 goals at the quarter goals, I do, okay, what are my 3 intentions for my work hours tomorrow? And then what are my 3 intentions for my personal time tomorrow? And sometimes that is like, okay, I need to go on a long bike ride, or it's okay, be present with the kids, or it's you know, but I do, I guess that's technically 6, right? But I full transparency, I have extended it just a little bit for that. Okay, so we go 12 week, right? And then so the quarter, and then we go to the weekly plan, and then we go to the daily plan. How many of you practice something like this? I would love to hear this. What what do you find strugglesome to stay focused? Because I know a lot of people can start a quarter off strong, and then halfway through, it's like, what happened? Like we got distracted, or right, we let all the things in. And when there's no priority, when there's no like hierarchy, when there's no like best yes, then everything has the same, right? The same weight, the same value. And at that point, right, nothing actually makes progress. If you are in the place where you feel like you're spinning and you're doing a lot of stuff, but you're not actually making any progress, this is probably it. There is power in focus, because the restraint, believe it or not, actually brings freedom. And that is like the part that when you can really understand and live it and experience it firsthand, that by naming what is my best yes unapologetically, right? In this season, what is my best yes? Or in this week, what is my best yes? And I am going to, that means I'm saying yes to that, which means I have to say no to a lot of other things so that I can have my best yes. When you can do that, that brings freedom. And that's why I named this doing less, so that you can do more. Because when you do less, it opens up. I mean, it's amazing, because you know what? The next day, as I started practicing this evening routine of like, okay, what are my top 3 like intentions? What are my top 3 priorities? At the end of my workday, let's say, out of all the things that I had on my list, right? The things that I'm like, okay, did the top 3 things get done? Then it's a win. I'm no longer focusing on all the check marks that didn't get done, right? It's like, okay, it's success. Where how many of you are focusing on all the things that aren't getting done? You're focusing on how far you have to go versus how far you've actually come. And these little baby steps add up and they matter. I want you to make sure that those baby steps every day, those top 3, are actually things that matter to you. They're actually moving you toward 12 weeks from now. Because you know what? 12 weeks from now turns into 12 months from now. And that turns into 12 years from now. And you want to be intentional about where you're going, about where you're focusing on. And it all starts with these little baby ways of saying no, right? And more importantly, saying yes. And that is how you live in the both and. I want you to think about right now, as I leave you, what are the top 20%? Like, what are, out of all the things in your life, I'm doing this exact thing right now with a client. She is living like everything in her life she loves. She is very intentional about living according to her values and not doing things out of obligation, not doing things out of have to, which I love. But one of the reasons that she hired me was, okay, she is at a new level where everything in her life, it's hard to say no because she loves it all. But you know what that tells me? That tells me that she is leveling up. And maybe you are leveling up too, right? Like imagine, because right now she's starting to feel like she can't be with her kids. She's feeling like she is emotionally drained, even though it's all good things. It's things that she likes. You might also be to the point, right? Where it is you are ready to go to that next level. What is the next top 20%? Because the life that you're living now might be the top 20% of 5 years ago. But now, if you're starting to feel some of that, like, ugh, right? Like that heaviness, that like draining, that like you're not doing as much of the life giving things that you used to do, I want you to think about, okay, it might be time to upgrade. That doesn't mean anything is wrong. That doesn't mean anything is bad. It just means you are evolving, right? So now redo inventory and look at what is the top 20% of things that I want in my life. Even out of all these amazing things, what are the best things that's also going to give me maybe, right, like the 80% of the results I want? And by the way, That does not always mean financial results, does not mean business results. For her, right, it is 80% of the results. She wants more time with her kids. That's the overall life. She wants more of that in her bucket. She wants more like clarity and more mental and emotional clarity, right? That could also be what it means to have the 80% of the results. What's the life that you want 12 weeks from now or 12 months from now? We get to start working on that day by day by day. Now, I do hit all of this in my program, but it is like in part 3 of my program. Usually in here, I talk about part 1 and part 2 of the program. This is in part 3. Like once you are clear on your values and once you know who you are, how do we live it out? How do we live in a place of peace and joy and fulfillment? This is one of the ways. So, of course, if you want help with this, right? Hop on a 20 or 30-minute call with me, just DM. I don't even have a link for it, so we can set it up in the DMs and I will help you simplify your summer, okay? And if it is something that you're like, you know what? I think I need the whole shebang. I need to like get clear on my own values again. I need to understand why I am not setting boundaries. I need to understand what it is about people pleasing and I'm saying yes when I really mean no. A lot of that comes in part 1 and part 2 of the program. So if you're like wanting a whole rehaul, reach out about that too, okay? And I will give you information about the program. And if it's something you want to try for the summer, reach out. We'll hop on a free call, okay? All right, everyone. Mwah. I will see you later. Bye-bye.